Hello, welcome to another YouTube Live. Here we are every Monday at 7. And this is the chance to get a free class every week. And it's on a variety of different topics. And today is all about NLP. Some of you may have heard of NLP, some of you may know of it and understand what it is. Some people may have experience with it, and some people may be completely new to it. So I'm going to explain a little bit more about what it is, and this is a huge part of what I've been doing in my work for the last 10 years. And it's a really, really wonderful set of tools and techniques that we can use to create change in our life. And there are some misconceptions about it. I've been in this field for 10 years and I've seen a lot, I've heard a lot, and some things I like in the industry, in the coaching world, wellness field, all of that. And some things I'm like, yeah, okay, that we could clear a few misconceptions up here. Like we could talk a little bit about this. So NLP, so what it stands for, basically, neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And what that is all about is about what's going on within the mind, the conscious mind, the unconscious mind specifically, and really looking at the beliefs, the values, the meta programs, all the different thoughts and words, that like how we talk to ourselves, how we talk to others, all of that. That's a big part of NLP. Is like what's going on, the unconscious filters that are there, like this blueprint that we have that make up our experience of life, because a lot of what we experience in life is according to the blueprint that we hold within our unconscious mind. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, though. That's like what's going on within the mind. And then we have linguistics, so neuro-linguistics. So again, that connects in with how we talk to ourselves and others, the specific words that we're using. And we also have in NLP a big focus on using hypnotic language when we use particular techniques. We also have Milton model, meta model, like all these. The Milton model is connected with hypnosis. We have the meta model to really look at getting crystal clear communication, like really understanding what someone's saying, understanding what we're saying and how to put the message across in a way that that person will understand and that will create clear communication between people. And then we have programming. So programming is all to do with the tools and techniques that we have in NLP. And there are all these wonderful, wonderful tools that can really create change. And sometimes I've seen things used in a way that perhaps it could be not improved, but there could be a different way that we look at it. And this is what I want to invite you to really look at NLP with new eyes today. So sometimes in the field of NLP, because it's such a broad spectrum, and essentially like the very essence of it is that curious mindset, like getting curious about ourselves, others, and life. And it's that curiosity, like that's the real essence of it. And one of my teachers described it as the codification of why we do what we do, how we do what we do. Basically, it's like the manual to your mind, the manual to the human mind, and why we do certain things, why patterns play out, and how to effectively change those if we need to. So a lot of what's in NLP are things that we have done naturally as human beings anyway for centuries and centuries and centuries, and even before that, for a long, long, long time. For example, sitting around telling stories that heal, stories that help people to learn. Like that is something that we also cover in NLP. We cover metaphorical stories that can be used to help the clients to really create change, though this is something that human beings have naturally done anyway. We've naturally thought about something, visualized something, and perhaps gone forward to that. So in a sense, that's goal setting. That's a big part of NLP as well. So there are many different things that form part of NLP that human beings have done naturally. And how it started was with Richard Bandler, John Grinder, these two guys in the States, and they came together. One was a mathematician, one was a linguistic professor, and they came together and they were observing a lot of the top professionals in the field, in the wellness fields at that time. And this was in the 70s. And so they were looking at the top hypnotherapists, the top family therapists, like the top linguists, the top, like all these different top people in their fields that really knew how to create change with their clients. And they're like, okay, like what's the thing that makes that change? Like what's the difference that makes the difference? Like why do some professionals, some therapists get really good results and why do others not? Like they wanted to understand why. There you have it. That's the very essence of NLP, is that curious mindset. So they did a lot of studies and observation, and then they put everything together of what they observed as this manual, which is called NLP. Has all the tools and techniques and has that structure, has that framework of, okay, step-by-step processes. And this is why so many people love NLP, because it's so straightforward, step by step. It's like, it's very practical. It's very like, okay, this is how it's done, rather than being very airy, fairy, kind of floaty, like not really knowing the direction. It's like, no, okay, this, and this. And people love that. People love it because it can get really good results as well. Some people have had really wonderful results using NLP and just really finding a way to come back to themselves. So how it's helped me personally is that it's given me a great foundation and understanding in how important the thoughts are, how important the stories are in terms of our experience in life. And according to what stories and thoughts we're focused on, then that can have an impact on what we're experiencing. So if I'm focused on a story of lack, a story of struggle, a story of fill in the blank, that will impact my experience in life. And if I shift the focus and if I start focusing on a different story and creating a different story, then that will shift my experience. So this is a little mini exercise that I did at a meetup the other day, and it's something that I have talked about in some of the lives before, but if you're new to these lives or if you want to practice again, here's an opportunity. So imagine that above you there's a clock. So there's a clock being projected up on the ceiling, and that clock has all the numbers, it has the hours, it has the second hand. It's like this perfect clock above you. So what I want you to do, and I will join in with you, is point your finger up at that clock and trace your finger around as if you're tracing the second hand. So you're tracing the second hand and you're moving your finger around clockwise. So your finger's moving clockwise, and as you do that, gently lower down your arm. So gently lower down your arm, so then you can now look down on your hand and notice which direction it's moving in now. Often when I do this in the workshops, there's a lot of puzzled faces, and then it takes people a couple of goes to really figure out what's just happened. So you can try that again if you want. So tracing your finger, going around the second hand, going all the way down, and then you look down, and then what happens, what appears to be, is that your hand is moving anti-clockwise rather than clockwise now. So how did that happen? What happened is, like, here I'm looking at my hand from this direction, and here I'm looking at my hand from this direction. So according to how I'm looking at something can transform our experience of it, whether it's going clockwise or anti-clockwise. And this is a wonderful, simple reminder of how we're looking at a particular situation, how we're perceiving something can have a knock-on effect on our experience of it. This is a huge part of NLP, a really, really big part of NLP. Now, what can happen with NLP? Because there's such a I mean, there's much more I could share, but that's like a little brief insight. Basically, it's like this toolkit. You have this toolkit, and you can take it with you in life, and you have simple, effective tools that can really help you navigate emotions, help you reframe things, see things in a different light, learn and grow and evolve from challenging situations, and really understand like how perhaps certain things can be seen in different lights so that you experience it in a different way. Now, what can happen, because NLP has been around for a long time, and there are many different people teaching it, and there are many different styles being taught as well, and there are many different versions of NLP. There are some governing bodies, they're international bodies, that are keeping an eye on standards. Though even still, some of the governing bodies are not, in my opinion, are not doing enough to really uphold the standards. And this is a shame, because it has a knock-on effect on the quality that you can receive out there when you go and work with a professional. So if you are looking for work with a professional in terms of your mindset and really wanting to work with NLP specifically, then it's really important to go with someone that you feel like, okay, yeah, I resonate with this one or this person, or it makes sense, like what they're saying, or like I'm yeah, it just like, it feels good, it sounds good, it's like someone that you feel like that you can work with. So really listen to your intuition as well on that one. So there's a whole spectrum. It's like a rainbow. You have all the different colors, all the different tones, all the different shades, like all of that. And it's not to say that one type is better or worse. It really depends what you're looking for. You can have NLP that's very, very focused on sales and business, and it's used a lot in sales and business. It's used a lot in marketing. It's used a lot in politics. It's used a lot in many different areas that perhaps you might not have thought that it would be used in. And majority of the time it's used for the highest good and for benefit of the well-being of everyone. And sometimes it's not used that way. And that's when sometimes there's this common perception of that it's manipulative. I'll talk more about that in a moment. So that's like, sometimes there can be that coming up as well, but that's one side of it. You have NLP that's very much focused on business and sales and marketing and how the message is put across and how things are conveyed and perceived and all of that. Then you have the real like motivational speakers. So I'm talking about people like Tony Robbins. He uses NLP. He might not call it NLP, but he uses NLP, and also his own development and his own things as well. But a huge part of that is NLP. He was one of the very first students of NLP back in the day. So he uses a lot of NLP. So that's one part of it, where NLP is used a lot in motivational coaching and becoming like breakthrough coaching, peak performance coaching, like really becoming the best of the best. Like a lot of athletes use this, a lot of sports professionals use this, a lot of people like really wanting to raise their game, whether that's in their personal life, whether that's physically, whether that is in their business as well, but like really like, yeah, okay, goal setting, I'm going to go forward and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to like visualize what I want and really bring that into my experience and really like move forward with that. And there's a lot of energy and drive and go, go, go. And it's all about moving forward and breaking through your limits and really seeing that human beings, we are limitless when we really break through the mindset. I mean, obviously within reason. We haven't like mastered the art of clicking our fingers and going to the moon, but that's not going to happen for many people. But it's what I'm talking about is like when you feel that there's this like fear and you go through it. Like firewalk exercises are very popular in this field of NLP. Or like chopping like martial arts, like when you break a block of wood with your hand, and you do that as part of your breakthrough experience. So that's it also. So we got the sales and the business, we got the real peak performance breakthrough, and then we have the holistic therapeutic use of NLP. There may be other flavors in there, though those are like the key ones, the main key uses of NLP. And so the therapeutic holistic use is when there's a really big focus on working with the inner child. And there's a lot of looking back at past events and really finding a way to see it in a new light and see it through the eyes of you as the adult now, that there are new insights that you can look back and be like, oh, okay, yeah, back then when I was 5 years old, I thought it meant this, but actually now looking back at it, I realized that wasn't the case. Or like really like tending to the emotions, like what's coming up emotionally and how can we work with emotions, like shifting habits, shifting emotional states, shifting all of that. Like that's a big part of the therapeutic side of NLP. Parts integration as well, that's a really popular technique, and it's a beautiful process of integrating different parts of yourself. Like part of me wants this, part wants that. Okay, how can I bring that together and integrate that as one greater whole? So then we're not playing out this behavior, this yo-yo behavior of conscious mind, unconscious mind, sabotage, like going forward towards the goal and then sabotaging it. Like that can happen when there's a mismatch between the conscious and unconscious. So parts integration works really well to balance that out, and much more. So that's the other side of NLP, and that's where I have been focusing most of my time on. Like when I was working solely on NLP was much on that, and also training new practitioners. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, I really felt, so those of you who have listened to my podcast will have heard about this, heard this story. I went through many different challenges, and I really felt I needed to bring in more of what was in alignment with my soul, and like really like living life to the full of what lit me up. And NLP is wonderful. NLP has been such a wonderful foundation for me, though it's not something that I feel that I'm here to teach in its pure essence, just as it is, and only that. I feel I'm here to do much more. And it's not to say that only teaching NLP is not that good. Of course, for some people it's wonderful and that could be their path. Though for me personally, that I needed to bring in something else. And that was where the creative arts and the dance came in. And that's where creating change was born, which is what I teach now, which is blending NLP with creative arts and dance and putting it all together to create this wonderful embodied experience of NLP. So rather than being just focused up in the mind, it's bringing everything back down into the body and recognizing that it's all one system. It's all one system, and there's a lot of wisdom held within the body. Yes, the mind is super powerful, but also working somatically with the body can be incredibly powerful too, and can create an impact on our thoughts and our beliefs also. So everything's interlinked. So that's what I do now, and I do in the workshops. We dance, we paint, we draw, we have a lot of fun, and then I bring in some of the mindset from NLP as well, which helps us to really reframe things and see things in a different light. Now, what's the problem with NLP sometimes? And this is not with NLP really itself, it's with people that use NLP. So this is one of the things I wanted to bring up, that sometimes there's this misconception that NLP is manipulative, that it's being used against people, that it's manipulative, that it's used a lot in sales. and marketing, and sometimes people that perceive that as manipulative. Now, yes, this is like a tricky balance because companies, they really study human psychology, and whether they use NLP or not, they study human psychology as a whole, like as a topic, and they really find out like what makes people want to buy things. This is a big part of marketing. Some people would say that that's manipulative. Now, this is the thing. When a company is using NLP, when a business individual is using NLP, when a coach is using NLP and like wanting to sell something or wanting to market something, how they go about it and how they use it is key. So NLP itself is not manipulative. It's how it's used. It's the intention behind that. So, for example, you can have someone who is inspiring people, uplifting people, and they have something that can really help people that are really struggling, like struggling with anxiety or struggling with a particular challenge, and they're really finding that very difficult. And there's this practitioner, or there's this trainer, or there's this business, and they use NLP to help those people. Now, that can be a wonderful thing when they're using they're sharing and they're marketing their products with heart, and they do that in a way that inspires and uplifts rather than shaming, blaming, and pointing out lots of pain points. So that can happen with marketing. So it's like as if you have a hammer. So you can have a hammer, you can break down a house, you can destroy it, you can like bash all the windows out and make big holes in the walls with a hammer. Though a hammer can also construct and build a house as well. You can completely build a house with a hammer. So it's not the hammer, it's what you do with it that's important. So it's not NLP, it's how it's being used and the intention behind it that's important. And I think nowadays people are much more in tune with how things are, like with the energy that's behind things, behind the scenes, and they can notice if something is a bit too pushy or salesy or a bit too that doesn't feel authentic. Like people are pretty smart about this. So this is why, like as a consumer, and when you're on Instagram, when you're observing posts, when you're reading articles, when you're watching videos, when you're listening to podcasts, that you go with what resonates for you and you work with who resonates for you. That's important. And that's the responsibility of the professionals to market their work and sell their work in the most ethical way possible. And it's the responsibility of the consumer to really discern who is right for them or not. And that doesn't mean that we always get it right in the beginning. Sometimes we book a session and we try it out and we're like, no, this person's not ready for me. Or like, for example, with doctors, like you're always entitled to get a second opinion, always. So with a professional, like if you feel it's not working out, you can change, go and work with someone else. Like listen to what feels good for you. Sometimes there's the so that's the first misconception that often comes up, like that's the biggest one. Sometimes there's another misconception that NLP is just like coaching. It's the same as coaching. And often the word coach comes in a lot, and people say, if they've done an NLP practitioner training, they'll say, oh yeah, I'm a coach. Technically, they're not. They haven't done any coaching training. They haven't done any formal coaching training, though there are lots of overlaps. Many coaching schools teach NLP because they see the benefit and they see the effectiveness of it. So they actually bring NLP into their coaching syllabus because they recognize working with the unconscious mind is really powerful. And also some NLP trainers teach coaching alongside that. So it's like the two overlap a lot. Though how I like to see it is that you have coaching NLP hypnosis. So NLP is somewhere in the middle between hypnosis and coaching. That's like a very simplified version to explain it. It's somewhere in the middle because we have conversation, we go through goals if that's the focus of how that particular practitioner works. Though that is like one of the main things that's very common in NLP is like really looking at the goals. Okay, like where are you now? Where do you want to go? And what's the route in between that? And what needs to shift? So that's like a big part of it. And there's conversation, there's questions, very similar in coaching as well, like helping to shift the mindset, helping to reframe things, see things in a different light. Though what's different, what's not present in coaching that is present in NLP is the focus on working with the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind, because it's all very well working consciously through conversation, but if there's still something within the unconscious, that's when some hypnotic language comes in useful in a guided visualization. That's when some of the NLP techniques that work with the unconscious mind to shift patterns of behavior, of thought, that come in really useful. That's what's missing in regular coaching. And then in hypnosis, that has a much more bigger focus on the actual therapeutic part of the hypnosis session as well. So you will chat with your hypnotherapist and talk a little bit about things, but there's a bigger focus on them creating this wonderful experience for you and for your unconscious mind to receive the positive suggestions according to what you want to change. So NLP is somewhere in the middle. So sometimes there's this misconception that NLP is just like coaching. It's very similar, though it's different. There's a focus on the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is like this iceberg. You have the very tip that's above the water, that's the conscious, and then the unconscious is everything else. And so much of what we do is based on our unconscious. So often there's the phrase of the conscious mind is the goal setter and the unconscious mind is the goal getter. So that's the one that really determines our behavior. And yes, another misconception that NLP is all about sales and selling things, and that can be a part of it if it's more of that business related NLP, though not all NLP is about that. And a huge portion of that and a huge percentage of the practitioners out there are using therapeutically and helping people in terms of patterns of thought and behavior and how to navigate their emotions. Now, so that's a little bit about NLP. Now, this is an important part that I want to share. So when I was doing practitioner trainings, one of the reasons why I became a trainer is because I felt that if I was going to teach NLP, I wanted to teach people to use it with heart, because I was seeing things in the industry that I didn't like, that I was seeing people use it in a way with perhaps their intentions were not solely focused on the well-being of the client, that they were focused a little bit more on money or like other things that I would just see that there was a lack of standards. And I mean, we have governing bodies. There are several governing bodies of NLP in the world that keep an eye on things and that uphold the standard a little bit, but I feel some of them fall short of that a little bit and they're not really keeping the standards high. And sometimes you get offers, you see offers online, you see like become an NLP practitioner, only $7, completely online, learn in your own time, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, but you cannot become an NLP practitioner with no direct tuition and teaching from a trainer, without being observed by a trainer and valued by a trainer, without working directly with other students and practicing, without like really going into things in more depth. And like $7, I mean, that's just ridiculous. So if you do see a practitioner training for like a ridiculously small amount, and it seems like it's, oh, I can become a practitioner, that's not enough to work with people and work with their traumas and work with their challenges and work with their emotions and work with childhood things. Like you cannot do that. You need to have proper training, proper direct tuition, like live tuition, whether that is online, but it's live, it's through a screen, but you're being evaluated and really observed properly, and you're able to ask your trainer questions and get feedback. Or even better, if that's in person in a class and you have that time with your teacher, there needs to be this direct contact with your teacher, and there needs to be ongoing support as well. That you're able to, like, once you've done your training, it's not like, oh, I've got your money, bye. No, it's like, okay, you've done the training, and then you have that ongoing support if questions come up as you practice. So I still have a group with my graduate students, even though I'm not holding NLP trainings anymore. I'm now focused on creating change. This is something that I felt that was so important, that I'm still there. Like as they're practicing, that they send a WhatsApp and then I respond when I can. And they have a question like, oh, on page 56 of the manual, like with this particular exercise, this came up with a client, what does it mean? Like, how can I navigate this? This is so important to have that ongoing support. So if you're looking to work with a professional, then look for that you have that support afterwards. So that's an important thing. And when I was teaching, I called it wholehearted NLP, and my main focus was really focusing on the heart and how NLP can be used as a way to reconnect to the truth of who we are. It's not about becoming a new person. It's not, even though it can feel like it sometimes, it's not about like changing who we are in terms of according to the ego and the mind. How I work with it is like, okay, let's listen to that deeper core within. Let's really bring in, like, paying attention to the heart and the soul as well. Like that's so important. And now with creating change, that's what I do. Like there's a big focus on that, because I will often talk about the 4 levels of goal setting. So traditional NLP sometimes only focuses on a few of the levels, and I bring in one more. So for example, like we can set a goal and like really go through that, like pay attention to that physically, so we're aware of our body posture and everything like that influences our emotional state and what we do and our behavior and our actions. We can set a goal on the intellectual level, so having that focus on, okay, what am I believing? What am I thinking? Like, what is it that I want? Let's visualize that. Let's focus on that. Make it big, bright, beautiful, like really make that wonderful and appealing for the unconscious mind. And then we can go into the motions when we set goals. So we're really paying attention to how things feel. Like when you've achieved what you want to achieve, like how would that feel? Like really connect to the feelings in your body, so you're aligning yourself even more with what it is that you want to bring into your life. And the part that's often missing is the spiritual. And I'm not talking about religious, I'm talking about spiritual. So like, what does your soul want? So it's all very well to set goals from the mind and align the conscious and unconscious together, but also let's pay attention to the soul as well. What is it that you're really wanting? because often a lot of goals are set according to societal pressures from family, friends, what we think we should, like the conditioning that we've had as we've grown up. We're like, oh, we think I need to do this, or I have to do that, or I should live my life like this. But what do you really want? What do you really want deep, deep within? Like deep, deep within, like what's your biggest, like, yes, that makes me feel alive. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that, because that is the key. That is the key. So I would focus on that. And when I was teaching students about all these different tools and techniques on how to navigate emotions, we have quite a few tools and techniques to let go of heavy emotions like sadness, anger, all of that. Sometimes it depends on the teacher that you have. I mean, my teacher, Jessica Robbins, she was great because she had a very holistic outlook on this and was very sensitive to working through emotions on a holistic level. Though sometimes there can be the tendency to really want to bypass and rush through things and not feel emotions and quickly rush to a technique to escape it and not feel it. Now, we can use these tools and techniques to help move through it and get out of any stuck states. So if we're using techniques to avoid feeling emotions in the first place and not paying attention to them in the beginning and really listening to what the message is from the emotion in the beginning, that's when it can be a little problematic, that people tend to rush and then they just create this ongoing habit of avoiding and wanting to be someone different and do something according to what their mind wants, rather than just being with the whole experience, this human experience that has all the colors, has all the different experiences, the highs, the lows, everything. So I use NLP in a way to understand ourselves better, to really like see things in a new light and gain the messages from any emotions or self-sabotaging behaviors that might come up. Though it's not about clicking your fingers, quick fix, let's quickly run away from whatever is considered bad and rush to something else. It's about, okay, this is what's currently happening. Let's learn from this. Let's pay attention to this. Let's recognize it as this beautiful messenger. And then if we need a technique, we can use that. We can use that to help create a shift. So it's working, sometimes the work is not like this quick fix, though I feel it's at much deeper level when we work in this way, that we're really working with the whole, the mind and the body, everything, paying attention to it all. So that's a little bit of how I would use NLP, and also with goal setting as well. Like goal setting, obviously it's important. Like when a client comes in, we look at what's currently happening, where do they want to go, what have they tried, what have they not tried, like what's worked, what hasn't worked, like are there any beliefs or anything in the way that are causing an issue for that person. So we pay attention to that and we find out what they want, where they want to go towards, what their desired outcome is. Though when we talk about that, I'm very mindful of helping them to recognize that what's the feeling underneath that goal, because usually it's not about the job, usually it's not about the relationship, usually it's not about the money, that there's something else underneath that. And often when it's the feeling, you can connect to that anytime. It's possible to connect to those feelings without having actually got that material thing in your life. And it doesn't mean to say you can't get a new job or a partner or have more money. That's totally possible and fine. Though it's just without placing all of the hope and the expectations on this material, external achievement solely, and forgetting that much of the joy and the fulfillment comes in the journey, and paying attention to the flowers along the way, like really paying attention along the journey. And that's where the growth, where the wisdom, where the integration or the insights comes from, is from the journey, rather than like quickly rushing from A to B. Because often when there's this tendency to set goal, like goal after goal after goal, sometimes it could get to a point where there's this sense of unfulfillment. It's like, oh, I've reached the goal, now what? And if there's not a moment to really enjoy the journey as well, and to pay attention to that, have a moment to really be in that experience of what it is that you've brought into your life and really soak it in, then it's very easy to miss that and like pass through it, and you miss that that experience that brings the fulfillment. So it's the two together, like know where you're going and have clarity, but smell the flowers along the way, like enjoy the journey. It's this unfolding. Like I see NLP as this wonderful set of tools and techniques and linguistic patterns that we can use to unfold into our greatest truth, unfold into our authentic self, unfold into a state of living and being that feels aligned for us. So that's a little bit about wholehearted NLP, using it with heart, and really paying attention to that. So there's again, when you hear about methodologies out there, when you hear about different practices, sometimes there can be this generalization, sometimes there can be this misconception, or many misconceptions. And I just wanted to do this little talk today about that, just to really clear a few things up, and that it is possible to use NLP with heart, and it can be a wonderful set of tools and techniques, and to really understand the mind and the emotions, and also paying attention to what lies here. And this is what I cover in Creating Change, like really paying attention to like living a soul-led life. And that's important too. So I'll leave that there. If there are any questions about that, then do get in touch. If you want a session, I have sessions online worldwide. So I've got a link in the description of this video so you can find out more information. And the sessions, you can either just book solely NLP sessions. If you want that, then just let me know when you reserve. Or you'll see that there is this clarity pack offer, which does include some other things in there, because I blend it with other modalities as well. So coming up in terms of events, so depending on when you're listening to this, the events might have passed or not. Depends when you're listening to this, but there's always things going on. So check out my website, check out Instagram, check out the meetup page, check out all the different things that I have going on, and you'll be able to see what's happening at the moment. But at the time of recording, or at the time of this going live, I have NLP Meetup on the beach. That's coming up on the 28th of June. And that's in Vilanovi Geltrú, which is a short train ride from Barcelona. And that will be a wonderful, wonderful practical class. So that's like a little introduction. That's 1 hour, and that will be on the beach. We have lovely weather at the moment, and that'll be on the beach, 1 hour, and it's called Embodied NLP. So it's really working with the mind and body, and using it with heart. And I will be talking specifically about body posture and how that can have a knock-on effect on our confidence, and also language, some specific words and questions that can also have a knock-on effect on our confidence. So if you want to feel great in your skin and you want to learn some practical tools and tips, then come and join us if you're in the area. So that's on the 28th of June, and that's in the evening at 8 p.m. on the beach. That'll be 1 hour long, and that's a donation-based class. So you can just come along, enjoy, take away some wonderful tools and techniques, and donate what you wish. And then also I have coming up on the 1st of July, there's the last workshop of the series for mothers in Barcelona, and that's at Artemis, which is this wonderful women's health center in Barcelona. And this workshop is also about confidence. So this is really focused on mothers specifically. So if you're a mother or you know of a mother, this is a wonderful opportunity to step into confidence and to really embrace your whole self, and not just you as a mother. It's not about just continuing that label of I'm a mother and that's it. No, it's about embracing the whole you, the multidimensional you, the all parts of you, and really stepping into authentic confidence. So it's not about using tools and techniques to like force it, or like oh yeah, okay, let's be confident. I mean, of course we will look at body language and like a few things that we can do to help boost it, though it's more about tapping into that authentic confidence within. And if you're not quite sure what that is or what that feels like, then come to the workshop. Or if you're not a mother, book a session, and we can explore that. So it's really coming back to the, okay, who am I really? Who am I really? How am I choosing to live my life? And what is, like, what lies within, like, that core essence, and living life from there. And when we live life from there, that's what I call authentic confidence. So we're not trying to be like others. We're not trying to like force things. For example, I like observing people on videos, like observing people doing talks, observing how like different presentation techniques, like going on workshops and trainings about presentations, like how to give presentations. I've learned a lot of things, and I've learned a lot of skills and techniques of what they teach you. And I pretty much dropped most of it because it didn't feel authentic. And my intention is to speak from the heart, speak from the heart, speak from my truth. And that's what feels the most important. Obviously, there are a few things that can help bring the message across more clearly, though I used to think that I had to be like others, or I had to talk like others, I had to do videos like others, I had to like be more active, like be more expressive, be more like extrovert. And it's like when I'm trying to force things and when I'm trying to be like someone else, I'm not being myself. I'm not being myself. And this is the thing, that when I'm doing that, I'm not being myself. I'm missing the very gift of what I can offer people, and the very thing that why people come to me and why they work with me. So many people over the years, I've had it time and time and time again, like so many people saying like, oh, I feel so like relaxed and calm when I hear you talk. Like they feel a sense of peace because I talk slower. I talk more slower, more mindfully compared to some people. And they find my way of talking and my voice very soothing. And that really helps people with anxiety. So it doesn't really make sense for me to try to talk like other people and try to, let's like talk quicker, let's be more expressive, and that's because how other people do it and I should do the same. Then I'm not bringing my true authentic self and why people come to me and why they work with me. So it's important to connect with that. So that would be what we cover on the workshop for mothers on July the 1st. So that's also information's in the description as well, so you can find that there. So I'll leave that there. It's been a longer class today. There was a lot to talk about and a lot to cover. And thank you for watching. Thank you for being you. And if you want more information, of course, it's all in the description. You can also find a link to the podcast, because there's a podcast that comes out every couple of weeks as well. So you can find out more information and learn more tips and tools. And that's where I share a little bit more about the creating change as well. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being you, and wishing you a wonderful rest of the week. Much love.